Hello again, everybody. Zach Attack is in my UFC 185 review for tonight. It was Saturday, March 14th, 2015. As I'm making this, it's early Sunday morning, March 15th, as this video is about to be uploaded. Now, this is my first UFC pay-per-view review since UFC 183. Now, this pay-per-view was almost identical to UFC 183 with some differences. In UFC 183, the first three fights were awesome, and the last two, the co-main and the main, were just okay. In this pay-per-view, it was similar but different. The first two fights were just okay, and the last three were just amazing, especially the two main events. And as you see by my description, we crowned two new champions tonight in both championship main events. And I've always seen championship fights, and sometimes you see championship fights, and you see the challengers waiting for the champion to make a mistake, then pounce at him. But in both these championship fights tonight, both challengers went right at the champions, and the results were evident. This pay-per-view, I'll give it a 7.0 out of 10. Kind of on the straight on the last three fights, especially the co-main and the main, which the main was my favorite fight of the night. So, still ups and downs being UFC, but still, I'll take it. I'll take anything from UFC now. At least I can say UFC is kind of better than Bellator now. Bellator's been weak lately, and now UFC's taking advantage. And at least in the main event tonight, at least the champion, in both championship matches, both challengers deserved and earned those victories. Unlike Liam McGarry, who I think did not win the light heavyweight championship against McMahon. Kind of a weird decision. I like Liam McGarry, but it was kind of a weird decision. But this is not Bellator. This is UFC. Let's kick these off with the first two fights were just okay. We kick things off with, in the flyweight division, Henry Cejudo taking on Chris Cariaso. Now, this was a heavily one-sided affair. It was an okay fight. I always say this in some fight. I've always used this quote a lot in the UFC reviews. Decent action, not much excitement. And that was the case. This Henry Cejudo guy, he was aggressive all over the board. Chris Cariaso had no offense whatsoever. He was on the defensive as Henry Cejudo. Now, he's a freestyle wrestler. He's an Olympic wrestler. Olympic gold medalist wrestler. And you can tell he's that because every time he took him down, he didn't know how to submit. He's not a judo guy or mixed martial art guy. He's a wrestler. You can tell that because every time he had him down, he was trying to go for submission, but he didn't know how to submit people. He just took him down the entire fight. It was heavily one-sided. Mostly got in the pound, but that was about it. And Henry won by all 3 rounds because it was more aggressive. And it was heavily one-sided with him taking him down for most of the fight. So, 2.3 for that fight. It was just heavily one-sided. It was decent. At least it was better than the next fight. Heavyweight division with Allistair Overeem taking on Big Country Roy Nelson. Now, if you are a regular viewer of my UFC pay-per-view reviews, there's always a lot of terms I use. A lot of phrases I use a lot on some of my UFC reviews. One of them is fight not to lose fights. Another one is the one quote I just said. Decent action, not much excitement. Now I'm going to use both. It was decent. There was two halves of this fight. There was one half of this fight that was decent action, not much excitement, with Allistair Overeem just dominating with the big knees, those big knees of Big Country. But the other half of the fight was a fight not to lose fight. Well, if you don't know what fight not to lose fights are, to me, the fights were two guys just dance around the entire ring for 3 rounds, and don't do shit. Now, yes, they did shit, but they did shit less often. You know what I mean? They just danced, they danced, hit, danced, hit. And it was kind of boring. The fans booed it, which deserved it. These guys were in the top 10, even though Allistair Overeem won, which was unanimous because he just dominated those knees, but he couldn't finish Big Country. Big Country, I've always applauded Big Country for not giving up, because I've seen rounds when Big Country just get his ass kicked, and even in defeat, he's a great fighter because he never gave up. He kept fighting. He kind of kept fighting this fight, but It was kind of a boring fight. It was okay action, not much excitement. It was kind of boring. 2.0. And these guys are in the top 10. Even if Allistair won, both guys should be taken off the top 10 because they put on a boring fight tonight. There's, like I said, okay striking, but not much action, not much excitement. So that's my quip about the second fight. Now on to the last 3 fights of the night, which were probably the best fights of the night. Let's kick things off in the welterweight division. Former welterweight champion Johnny Hendricks taking on Matt Brown. Now, Hendricks in his hometown of Dallas needed not just a win, but a dominant victory. This was his first fight coming up his loss against Robbie Lawler for the UFC welterweight championship back in December. Now, I've seen a lot of guys who this might be like a number one contenders fight where the guy won, but he didn't deserve the win. He won, but he doesn't deserve the title shot because his performance was dominant. In Hendricks' case, he was dominant in this fight. Matt Brown had some opportunities in there, but Hendricks was like all over him. He went for the GSP strategy, took him down the entire fight, took him down, ground him down, so he wouldn't get striked on. And Hendricks just looked powerful in this fight. He was really dominant in his performance tonight because he knew he needed not just a win, but a dominant win to get him back in line to get a rubber match between him and Lawler. Because he beat Lawler last March for the vacant title after GSP left the company. And then Lawler defeated him back in December. So they're both 1-1. And for Hendricks to get a rubber match, he had to defeat Matt Brown and not just defeat him, but defeat him soundly and dominantly. Which is exactly what he did. And he won by unanimous decision. He took him down a lot. And really took him down a lot. But he couldn't finish him though. He's okay striking, decent ground and pound there. Decent action in his fight. It was better than Overeem and Big Country. Better than that fight for sure. Especially coming out of that fight. To see this fight go down, at least was better than the last fight. Decent to me. 2.7 out of 5. It's still okay, man. There was some decent excitement in there. There was better action than the last fight. And a great dominant victory for Johnny Hendricks. Now on to the 2 best fights of the night. The championship fights. First things first. The first title defense for the Women's Strawweight Championship. With the champion, Carla Esparza, defending her championship that she won back in the Ultimate Fighter finale back in December as well. Against, I need to pronounce his name right because it's a Polish name. Joanna Jedrzejczyk. Sorry, just Joanna J, because I can't pronounce the name. It's sad to say that this fight was better than Overeem and Nelson. I think they should be ashamed of themselves that their fight was boring and the women's fight was more exciting than their fight. Shame. And they're heavyweights too. Like I said in the beginning of this video, in both championship fights, both challengers went at the champion. In Joanna's case, she went right at Carla. Carla had no offense whatsoever. Carla had a weakness. Carla's not a good striking person. She kept trying to, and that was shown in this fight. Her weakness of striking was shown in this fight. Because I think Carla, because I did see that fight when she won the Strawweight Championship. I don't watch Ultimate Fighter. I don't watch that show. But I do watch the Ultimate Finales. And she did win by submission. That's the thing. She's a takedown person. She's not a good striker. Yes, she got some TKO victories in the Ultimate. And Invicta, I'm looking at the stats right now. But this Joanna chick was just outstriking her big time. And every time Carla tried for a takedown, Joanna just went on, blocked it, and went striking. And she's a vicious striker. This is my first time seeing this Joanna chick, and she was a vicious striker, man. She went, like I said, she went right at Carla in the first round. She couldn't finish her in the first. But then in the second round, Carla was spent. You could tell Carla was worn out after getting beat down in the first round. She got beat down again in the second round. This time, Joanna just kept pounding out in the corner. And the referee stopped it. And Carla was still standing, but the referee couldn't stand her getting pounded enough, which gave Joanna the TKO victory and became the second only in UFC history Women's Strawweight Championship, with the title being changed in its first ever title defense. Like, Carla, I've seen her once. She was okay in that title fight, but this Joanna Jedrzejczyk was on top of it. She like I said, both challenges and both championship fights, and I brought it and earned the titles and took it from the champions. Like I said, I've seen a lot of championship fights where the challengers don't go at the champs right off the bat. They wait for a moment when the champion's weak, and that usually doesn't pay off. They wait for the champion to get weak, and they don't get that moment, and they fail. You gotta take it from the champs. You gotta be aggressive from the get-go. That's what Joanna did. As well as our next match. By the way, 3.0 out of 5. Really exciting fight. More exciting than Allistair Overeem and Warren Nelson for sure. That's embarrassing for them. So congrats to Joanna. Great dominant victory in the Strawweight Championship fight. Now on to our main event. The best fight of the night. For the UFC Lightweight Championship. Anthony Showtime Pettis taking on Rafael dos Anjos. Now, I am a big Pettis fan. I've been a fan of his since his fight against Benson Henderson back in 2010 at the last WEC televised event on FX. It was not. What I think it was Versus. Yeah, Versus. And that fight is probably one of my favorite MMA fights I've ever seen. It was just an exciting back and forth fight, and I've seen Pettis fight after that, and I've never seen. And I'm like I said, I'm a Pettis fan. I've never seen him get dominated like he did tonight against Rafael dos Anjos, who got a stop over Benson Henderson. I think that was a really weird end to the fight, but still, this Rafael guy, like Joanna, went right at the champ and just pounded his. He just took it from Pettis in all 5 rounds. He won every round. The first round was just really exciting. Good striking from those Anjos. It was mostly ground and pound in the second round. And Pettis never gave up. That's the thing. Rafael did not get the finish. He became the new champion by unanimous decision. But he didn't get the finish. He had him down a couple times. He tried for submissions a couple times. Went for Kimura, went for chokes. But I'll give Pettis credit. He never gave up in this fight. He kept striking. Even though he knew he was spent, he kept trying to fight, and the crowd was pro-Pettis. The fans were chanting for Pettis a lot. And like I said, I'm a Pettis fan too. I like Pettis. I like him. I like his style, But this those Anjos guy deserved to be the new champion. He just out-fought and out-strike. He out everything Pettis tonight. He was just dominant tonight. He bloodied him up big time with big elbows, big strikes, And I guess by the time, I'm surprised that Pettis even lasted to the 5th round. Because like I said, those Anjos couldn't get the finish. He had every opportunity to finish him. Got him on the ground, but never got the finish. And I'm surprised it even went to the 5th round because, like I said, Pettis was spent. Even though he was trying to fight back, you could tell Pettis was spent by the time the 5th round kick. He just kept getting his butt ripped. Even though it was a one-sided affair like the first fight, it was an exciting one-sided affair because those Anjos guys just kept dominant. Very exciting fight to watch. Like I said, one-sided, it was still exciting because those Anjos' performance was just powerful, just dominant. Because I've seen some championship fights, the champion gets a couple rounds and the challenger gets a couple rounds. And I was thinking Pettis could pull like Silva did because I remember seeing another fight where the challenger won all 5 rounds, but then lost in like the last 30 seconds of round 5. That was Chael Sonnen against Anderson Silva 1 back in 2011, 2012. And I think it was 2010. Like Sonnen won all 4 rounds, about to win the 5th round and win the championship, and then Silva got a submission last second. I thought they could have with Pettis, but hey, Pettis just got spanked, and like I said, he tried his best here. He had some okay striking there, but not enough to beat Dos Anjos tonight. Just Dos Anjos was on top of this game tonight. Like Joanna, both challengers were on top of their game tonight, and like I said, they fought the titles off the champions. As we crown 2 new champs tonight, 3.5 out of 5 for our championship fight main event tonight between Anthony Showtime Pettis and Rafael dos Anjos. We shall see. Well, sorry, he's acting up here. We'll see where both new champions go from here. I wish them both and their title reigns. And Pettis, I think he'll get a rematch eventually. I don't think he should get automatic rematch. He should do like what Johnny Hendricks did. Fight a fight and be a dominant victory. And then get a title shot after you win your next fight. In a dominant way like Johnny Hendricks did tonight. Back. I had to get some Kleenex, mate. Alice is acting up. So it's spring. Seasons are changing, so my Alice is acting up because of the weather change. So, Robbie Lawler, when he lost to Hendricks the first time, going back to what I was saying before I had to blow my nose and stuff, Lawler's first fight back after losing to Hendricks, he won, but it wasn't a dominant performance. And his next fight he won was a dominant performance and earned him deservingly so that title shot against Hendricks, which he defeated him. So Hendricks was dominant tonight. I still think Hendricks needs one more fight in him, but he's on the right track, though. He does deserve a rematch against Lawler tonight after his dominant performance. He needs another dominant performance to at least prove his point even further. And that's what Pettis needs to do in his next fight. Prove that he deserves a rematch against Rafael dos Anjos somewhere down the line. So that's what Pettis needs to do to show that he's a true champion. A true champion is not shown by how he handles a victory. A true champion is shown by how he handles defeat. And we'll see how Anthony Pettis comes back from this devastating defeat tonight. Just a beatdown from Rafael dos Anjos this evening in a tremendous dominant performance from Rafael. And of course, dominant performance from Joanna as well. With the two new champs being crowned tonight at UFC 185. I will probably be able to see UFC 186 because it's wintertime or slow time. So I'll be able to probably see UFC 186 as of right now because I probably want to get that night. In UFC 186, we'll see the return of Rampage Jackson. Return to UFC next month at the UFC 186 pay-per-view. And Renan Barão, after getting sick the day of the weigh-ins before his supposed rematch against Dillashaw in August, will finally have his rematch in April as well. And that is it for my UFC 185 review. Thank you very much for watching. With that in mind, y'all been attacked by the review from Zach. See y'all later. Yeah.